Ben Brown. Well, now to discuss this, I'm joined by George Muruli of the opposition party, the ODM, who dispute the election, by David Kiziaki, a law graduate and a member of the Luo tribe, Pastor James Gitau, who expects to leave shortly for Kenya as a possible mediator between the government and the opposition, and Wangui Nindafuna, a supporter of the current Kenyan government. Welcome to you all. David, if I could just start with you and just quote you an email we've had from a listener or viewer in Tanzania, not Kenya, but Tanzania. The violence could have been avoided, but the real problem isn't vote rigging, it's tribalism.
We have all to admit that there is tribalism in Kenya. It has been a boiling pot for a long time. And these people who are currently fighting each other is not tribe against tribe, because the elections that has just taken place, there were six provinces that voted for ODM, and the president got votes from Central Province and parts of the Eastern Province. So what we are saying here, if we say that tribal thing, that it means all the other tribes in Kenya are against the Kikuyu, which is not true. In the previous election, all the Luos voted for KIBAKI. Why? Because they wanted change. So the real issue here is not tribe against tribe. Of course, there is tribalism in Kenya. The real issue here is those who want business to continue as usual, status quo, and those who want a radical intervention to solve all the poverty, to build all the roads, and change Kenyans' lives.
Wangui, would you, as a Kikuyu and a supporter of the government, would you agree with that?
I think I totally agree with what my colleague is saying here, because Kenyans, the last elections, we saw all people from all parties taking part in the elections. Whatever tribe they were, they supported the person they felt was best to take power and cause change. And I believe it's the same with these elections. The majority vote chose the person who is in leadership now. So I think it is just a few people who are trying to form a faction in that.
George, would you agree? Because there's a real sense that ethnic tension is at the root of this.
First and foremost, I want to make it very clear that I'm talking with two voices here. First and foremost, as a Kenyan, that is the loudest voice, and the least voice is as an ODM official.
And of course, you have just been in Kenya yourself. You were there through the elections.
Absolutely.
So you've seen it all firsthand.
Absolutely. Now I'm talking as a Kenyan in this kind of forum. Just to contribute to what David has said, I think there are various factors in play in Kenya at the moment. The first factor is the forces for social change against the forces for maintenance of the status quo. Number two...
But that's just a political debate which happens in every country.
Absolutely. Number two, we have generational revolution, whereby the old people, the 80s, the 80-year-olds and the 70-year-olds are now being told their time is up. They have to go. So, for example, you've seen it in the results. The vice president was told to go. Somebody like Simon Nyachaibu was told to go, etc., etc. And thirdly, there's a lot of mistrust on both sides of the divide, because the opposition are skeptical as to whether the current president is actually going to honor the kind of pledges that he's going to make based on what has happened in the past. And the people in power at the moment are so worried, they're very unsure about what is going to happen should the opposition take over. Now, to me, those ones are the three major factors that are taking the center stage. Now, when you talk about ethnicity, yes, I could say ethnicity, yes, but historically, and I hope just to clarify to the international community, if you could give me some time, historically speaking, when we attained independence in 1963, Jaramogi ODINGA had the presidency just on a silver platter. And he said, no, we are not going to take over the presidency until Kenyatta comes out of prison. So Kenyatta belongs to the Kikuyu, Jaramogi from the Luo. So that was not ethnicity.
Right. Now, I want, if I may, just get us bang up to date. Pastor, where do you stand on this in terms of the tensions that led us to the crisis exist today?
I think there is tribalism in Kenya, and it's very, very serious. It's good. It's a good thing to actually look at the thing straight and actually point the whole thing in a very, very frank manner, you know. And this tribalism is actually caused by actually many people just not wanting other tribes. By that I mean...
so one tribe wins and it favours its own side, and the other tribe wins and it favours its own side, and there's no equality. There's
no equality because you find that there's a lot of favoritism. Whoever comes in power wants to favour his own tribe. And there's actually a lot of dissatisfaction from the rest of the tribes. And this has actually been causing a lot of...
But it's one thing to favour your own tribe. It's another thing to rig an election. Do you think the election was rigged?
Well, there is actually complaints from everybody and even from international society that the elections were not free and fair. And I think something needs to be done about it.
Would you accept that, Maybe?
That
the elections were not free and fair, that they were rigged? Because that is the heart of the issue now, isn't it? At least the immediate issue.
I think I agree with what... there was a committee that was set up, the EC, that was set up to monitor this. And I take the stand, if the government chose a group of people to monitor this, and if there were whatever findings they found from this committee, then they should go ahead. If it was rigged, then the committee itself should come forth and make the standpoint on that and progress from there.
Let me just chip in about tribalism in Kenya. What is happening, most people find that you have to belong to a family because you trust the family will support you. Your next person who you are going to rely on is your tribe, because the benefits you get from the tribe outweigh the benefits you get from the nation state. So what should happen is the nation state should give the people more benefits that will outweigh the tribes themselves. And on the point that the election was rigged or the election was not rigged, we had the president calling the Chief Justice, the head of the judiciary, to State House even before the results were announced. So the president himself is saying, regardless of the outcome, I want the Chief Justice here, I want the head of the army here, I want the Attorney General here, everyone else come here first before the results are announced. So to begin with, those results cannot be accepted because, one, the chairman of the ECK, the one you said that was responsible for running the election, says he doesn't know whether KIBAKI has won or has lost. The European Union is saying they cannot trust the results. There are 4 commissioners who are saying they cannot trust the results, and Form 16 and 16A is already missing from the store. This is the form that has all the tallies that were in the election. So even if people are to go back and look at the tallies, the forms have been tampered with, I fear.
Okay, well, let's get to where we are now and what's going to happen next and what ought to happen next. George, what's the political solution that you see, at least in the short term? I mean, there are 2 main possibilities. One is a coalition. The other is to rerun the election. First of all, do you think either of them is viable? And which would you go for?
Well, as I said, coming back to the issue of ethnicity, I want to state very categorically that it has not been a major contributor to this.
Right.
Now, the way forward is like, I think all parties involved, now we're speaking like Kenyans, I think we need to start patching up the pieces. We have to pick up the pieces and actually try to look for a more viable solution to this. What you are saying is that at least we have seen the opposition showing some kind of goodwill, because Raila Odinga had taken a militant kind of stance that unless President KIBAKI resigns, then he's not going to budge. But we have seen him climb down. He has even accepted that he's ready for an interim government, power sharing, and whereas the other side of the divide, we are being told we are ready to negotiate only when the crisis has been resolved. It is just as good as Gordon Brown.
I understand that, but what is your preference for the immediate solution now? Is it a coalition or would it be rerunning the election?
I think most Kenyans will be for rerunning the election.
When we rerun the election?
Rerun the election.
Yeah. Is that feasible, given the level of violence that there's been, given the damage that there's been, given the problems just with the logistics of polling stations and so on across the country? Is it actually feasible to rerun it?
I think probably not.
Well,
probably not, because there's been so much violence. Right now, people are homeless, people don't have food to eat. How then do you move from... There needs to be, I think, first of all, dialogue. There needs to be a dialogue between the leaders. The 2 parties need to to talk about what's happening. And I think
when
we talk about tribalism, this has brought out a time where Kenyans have to search themselves and think, am I tribalistic, or do I want to see this country move forward?
Sorry to interrupt. If the people are given a true and valid roadmap towards what should happen next, and both parties, both Raila and Kibaki, agree to it, people will stop violence. Kenyans are not violent. Kenyans are peaceful people, and is a beacon of hope in the whole of East Africa and Africa in general. So if people are given a clear roadmap, if you give us, say, 3 months, we are going to give you a rerun. The rerun will be there, and Kibaki is a gentleman. He has been a gentleman for a long time. It's just the people around him that are actually pushing him to stay in power.
Let me bring Pastor in, because you may be going back and getting involved in trying to sort this out.
Yes, I think the whole thing is very sensitive. At the moment, the rerun will not solve problems because people are still very bitter. Me, what I would say, I would like to actually suggest to these people that they come together and actually form a government of what you call a coalition, national government of national unity. Because at the moment, people are so bitter about the whole thing.
Is that
anything that can bring people together?
No.
Yes.
Is that feasible in the current climate?
Well, I don't know that it can be feasible, but I think there's a lot of bitterness at the moment.
These two people, both Raila and Kibaki, they've worked for a long time together. They were in the last elections, they were in the same government. Raila helped Kibaki got to the presidency. But they have different ideals. Some of the Kibaki people, they want status quo, business as usual. Those who are on the Raila side, they want things to change. They want radical interventions, nothing to do with tribalism, bring back democracy and establish a good nation state that gives the individuals more than the tribes themselves. So these people will not work together. They can come together for a short time, say 3 months, but then give the people what they want. The people want change. The people want change which is going to promise them and get them to live good lives.
Of course, the truth is, if it's a rerun election, your party would almost certainly lose it, wouldn't it?
Who knows? We won by almost over 200,000 votes.
Well, that's,
I believe in the majority. So.
Very questionable.
I'm sorry to say, nothing matter.
What I could add is that actually the starting point will be to initiate dialogue. And once we are in a dialogue mode, then I believe things will fall in place. Because as I was saying, at least we have seen ODM trying to give in to a reasonable degree, and we want to see the other side also trying to climb down. It takes humility actually because once then we are negotiating, because as I was saying, it's not enough for people to say, okay, until the chaos is over is when we start talking to them. It's just as good as Gordon Brown telling people, look, we shall discuss about drugs in this country after people have stopped using drugs, which is not practicable.
Do you get, Pastor, do you get a sense that things are actually beginning to move?
I think they're moving.
I mean, should you not be on the next plane, frankly?
They're moving very slowly. And my fear is that, even if you have the rerun after 3 months, I think our people are still bitter, so bitter against one another. And I think we shall not.
But that's where leadership comes in, isn't it?
Yeah, but you see, the thing is that the bitterness is now too much. The best thing to do is to find any means of actually bring these people together in a government of national unity.
Government of national unity will not work because
even for a short period, even
for a short, they can.
So what should
they
happen?
Must have a real promise, because for many years, the big man, the president, has been promising the people, we are going to do this if you do that. And then when the time comes to actually do what the president has been saying, they fail to do it. They fail. We are going to have a free and fair election. There were results, that every person from the European Union agreed with. And then it's like the chairman of the ECK, Samuel Kivutu, was frog-marched to the State House to go and give results that he himself did not believe in. So this is what is triggering all these